Hi Stampers, it's Linda Schmidt with Stampin' with the Hounds. Today I have a fun technique that is called the floating strips technique. And what this does is it uses up all of your cardstock scraps, and then you adhere these scraps onto either a piece of what I've been doing is vellum paper, just because I had a bunch of it left over and I found it was easier to die cut than sometimes with the window sheets. But either a window sheet or the vellum paper or vellum cardstock. And then you pop it up with dimensionals or foam strips for it. So great way to use up paper scraps. And you can alternate whether they be like here I did probably about a 1/2 inch, sometimes 3/4, sometimes 1/4 of an inch, whatever you want. Just use up your scraps. So this is one we're going to make today. But I also wanted to show you that besides the cardstock, you can also use your designer series paper. And so this one, so the first one is using the Splendid Day designer series paper. I had a bunch of odd pieces left over and I thought, well, I'm just gonna use up my scraps, and I'm using the layering diorama die. I kind of like the look of the layering diorama. So I did this one first, die cut this out, then the piece that was left over, I'm like, I can still use this. So I use that as my base. And then I just did another layering diorama in white, and then I just did some embellishments in the center. So you can, depending on how you cut out your paper, when you do the focal point, if you've got enough space to do the leftover scraps, you can still do another card from it. So 2 for 1 in that one. So that's using the designer series paper, and this is on the vellum. So it's very faint and soft. So you can either use vellum or that window sheet as your base. Here's another one using the designer series paper. This time I did some of the harvest dies with the what do you want to call it? The cone flower on it. So, and then the new, I can't remember what this is called. It's wildflower. Anyway, it's new in the annual catalog. I'm so sorry. I'm like blanking on it. I'll put it in the description, what it is. And then these I did with a window sheet. So you can kind of see a little bit of that glare. So that's the window sheet instead of the vellum paper. So same thing. I'm still using some foam strips or dimensionals. Either one will work. And this one I did more of some warmer colors. And so with all 3 of these, it was from one scrap. So I kind of alternated my shapes with it, just kind of when I had it all here. I think it was like a 1/4 sheet. So that way I was able to get 3 cards out of that one. So this one I kind of did the Sending Smiles dies with it in black, and I just kind of layered it a few times. You can kind of see that, and I used my black dimensionals for that one. And then I did the Biggest Wish for my sentiment, and then embellished with some little black embellishments there. And then my Sailboat, I love this little sailboat punch. And then again, that Sending Smiles. So this one I did an oval die. This is retired, but it's, again, I know a lot of you ladies have the layering ovals and the layering squares and layering circles. So use them up while you can, while you have them. And this one again I did with the palm trees, and I did the Sending Smiles, and then the little sun. So again, that one it's popped up with some, this one I just did dimensionals on it, so it's not as high as the foam strips with it. And then this is a retired folder, but anyway, I was using up my scraps with it. So we are going to get started. And we're going to do, like I said, we're going to start with our Sailboat, and we're going to do our layering diorama, and then using some of our scraps for this one. So we're going to do today. So what you need is some vellum paper. So if you purchased the Botanical Layers bundle, it came with a bunch of vellum paper. Some of it was printed. with it. So there was like this kind of, oh, I got these all mixed up here. There was some with like some flowers, some with like this like wavy kind of water mountain scene, some speckles, circles, and then there was a stack of like quite a few blank vellum paper. So that is what I've been using because it's like the perfect size for that layering diorama die that I'm using for this card. I just want to make sure I have this out. So in your layering dioramas, the one I did, so this is the third largest. I think this is the one I did. No, I went one up. It is the fourth largest is the one that I did. So I'm going to keep that out so I have it. Okay, so again, this is like the perfect size for that die. So what we're going to do, and I'm trying to think, so the best way you can see this, I'm using my little foam. This is actually for the Stamparatus, but it's kind of nice because it's got the grid on it, and then I can clean this up if I get adhesive on it. So what you want to do is go ahead and grab your scraps, and I end up cutting them so that they're all kind of the same width. So for this one, I did them as 3.5 inches long, and then I alternated between like a 1/2 inch and a 1/4 inch. Sometimes it was like in between, whatever it was, when I was just randomly cutting, but just enough that you have. I like to do 3 colors. You can definitely do more than that if you want, or less. So this is Coastal Cabana, the in color Starry Sky, and Tahitian, oh my gosh, what is it? Tahitian Tide, I think is what this one is. So these are the 2 in colors for this year. So I just did a variety of sizes for each one. So I'm just gonna put these off because I do like to use my silicone mat as well. So here I can still see my grid lines in between. So I'm just going to lay my grid paper down, or my vellum paper down. And I'm going to start with, it doesn't matter, whatever color you want. And I'm just going to put adhesive on the back. And for the very first one, I do like to go flush as I can. Like I said, this is going to be, if it doesn't go all the way to the end, that's fine, because again, remember when we die cut this part's not gonna hit anyway. So I'm gonna do that one first, and then I'm gonna do let's see here. So I did Coastal Cabana. Let's do the turquoise. I'm gonna go a little bit narrower, I think, for the next one. And again, this, if you want to keep them all the same size, you can. I just like to alternate the widths of it when I'm doing it. And I'm just kind of using this so that I make sure I'm going somewhat straight. And then using the grid paper, it kind of helps keep your lines straight as you go along. So you want a little bit of that vellum paper or window sheet showing. And you just go along. And then if you get a little bit of adhesive on the top, go ahead and take your adhesive remover. It's like a little eraser, and it's going to pick up that extra adhesive. Okay, so we need a blue, a Starry Night. And since this is the shape of my die, I'm just going to stop here and not finish off here because my die doesn't go down that far. So once you have that all adhered on there, what I do like to do, just so that in case I have adhesive when I run this through my machine, I just snip off any of my extra pieces that are overhanging, just so that I don't have adhesive stuck to my plate in my die cutting machine. Okay, so I am going to do this off screen. I'm just going to die cut this. I'm just making sure I've got all my adhesive off. Okay, so now I have die cut my layering diorama. So we're going to be able to use this other one for a second card. So again, if you position it correctly, when you die cut it, if you've got enough space on these ends, you can do 2 cards from one scrap thing. So we're going to start with just this first one, the center part. So I'm just going to be using crumb cake as my card base, and I'm going to be doing a 1/4 sheet of basic white, and I stamped. So I first took my die cut and I laid it on here, and then I inked up my hello stamp with the starry sky, stamped it, and then I ran it through my embossing folder. Now this is a retired one. It's called High Seas, but I know a lot of people still have this one in stock. So I'm just showing you ways to use up some of the supplies that you have, but any embossing folder would work for any type of pattern. I just was doing the sea theme. So this High Seas one is what I used, and then I embossed it. So that's ready to go. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take this piece because we need it to float. So we're going to add some dimension to it. So what I'm going to be, you can either use Stampin' Dimensionals, a variety of the mini or the regular size, or you can use the foam strips that Stampin' Up! Has. So you get 2 in a package with it. So I'm going to be using some of these today. And on the back, so you're going to flip it over, and you're going to add some of the dimension or the foam strips to the back side of this. And you just have to kind of cut it, because you're basically, you want to just put the adhesive where the cardstock strip is so that you don't see it when you look at it from the front of the card. And I'm just kind of alternating, and then I put a little bit of support just on the ends. You can put it on every single one of these strips if you want, but I find that for the most part, you just really need to do every other one is fine. And since I've got one little left over, I'm just going to stick it here. Just so I used up one strip to make one card. All right, so then I'm just going to remove the backing on all of these. Okay, and then we'll take our 1/4 sheet that we had stamped on. That's my dog, sorry. That's Ezra flipping her head. She wants to play the little dog rattle of the collars. Okay, so there's that. And then again, if you have any adhesive on here, just take your adhesive remover and kind of pull that off. Okay, so now we've got our floating strips on there. And then this can then be attached to our card base. So I like to use my liquid glue, the Tombow multi-purpose. this will go attached to the card base. All right, now for our sailboat. So I am going to just use the sailboat punch. So I'm going to stamp once, or punch once, and I'm using the ultra thick cardstock for this, just because I really want a little bit of stability on my sailboat. So, oh yes, that's Ezra. She's telling you, make sure you use your thick cardstock. She's very talkative. She wants to play. All right, and then we'll just stamp another one. And this, we only need the center part of the punch. But I like to layer it up so it gives me a little bit of dimension, so I'm not wasting anything. I'm going to go ahead and attach these to the back of my white. So I'm just getting a little bit more dimension and support on my sailboat. So that way you're not wasting anything. You're using up your scraps. So I want that to be my sails to be white, and then my base, or my boat itself, will be the crumb cake. So I'm going to put the white on the back side of it. And then again, we're going to take our sail and we'll put the crumb cake on the bottom, and then my sail will be white. And then this is going to be glued onto the floating strips. I'll put it right about there. And then I like to add just a little bit of bling. So these are just some rhinestones, colored rhinestones that we have. And let's see here. We'll do... I'll do the... You'll do this one, and then a blue, and then maybe one of these green ones. Kind of keeping it in a triangle. All right, so there is that one, and then I will just do a quarter sheet of basic white on the inside of my card, just to give it a little bit of support so it's not so flimsy. And then I'm just going to leave it blank for now because I don't know really what I want to put on the inside yet. So I'm just going to leave that blank, but at least it's in there. All right, so there's the one with the die cut. Now let's use our extra piece. And on this one, just to save on time, I already punched out my sailboat and layered it, and I did a saying, and I did another little layering diorama, a little bit smaller. So my card base is going to be white. I'm going to do some pool party because it's a little bit lighter than that Coastal Cabana. So I'm going to put my adhesive strips, or the foam strips, on the back of this now. And since this has some smaller, the edges. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to come in then with some dimensionals. Depending on the size, I may do a variety of the big ones and the small ones. So we're going to put just some Stampin' Dimensionals. Come in here on the side. So because these are so small, or a little bit narrow edges, I'm going to probably use a little bit more support on these edges so that my card doesn't sink. So I'm going to do a little bit more support. I might do a little dimension there. Move this over. And what's nice when you're working with the vellum or the window sheet, you can lift up these dimensional pieces a little bit easier. Okay, so that looks good. All right, then we're going to just remove all of these. Okay, so now those are on. That's my frame. And then I'm just gonna, I did a little bit smaller layering diorama. And I just did this on some of the foil paper, colored foil. I kind of coordinated. And I'm just gonna kind of turn it a little bit so it's not exact, because I kind of want that little abstract look to it. And then we will go ahead and put adhesive on our boat. And then for my saying, let's see, I'm going to put this on my card first. So. Let's see. Okay, I will just keep it. Now, like where to put it. I think I'll do it there. So I'm just going to do a little dimensional on the one side, and then that way I only need to do adhesive on the other. And then we can finish it off with some gems. And let's see here. And there you go. So that is the floating strips technique. So lots of fun, great way to use up your scraps, and I would love to see your creations. So be sure to visit my Stampin' with the VIP Hounds group on Facebook. You can always find me at Stampin' Hounds, and that's HOUNDZ with it. Otherwise, give me a thumbs up, like, and subscribe to my channel. I try and do tutorials several times a month. I'm getting done with my medical leave, so I'm going to be going back to work, so I won't be in the stamp room as much. But anyway, thanks for watching, thanks for the support, and I will stamp again with you soon. Bye bye.